YouTube. Today it is Wednesday the 26th of July and I have a cunning plan for this afternoon and the rest of the week. So let me tell you what I've done so far from last night to today and what I'm planning to do the rest of the week. Oh, stalled, sorry. So, just to catch up on yesterday was primarily about me testing out what it's like to work in London for the day, and my overall opinion is it's not worth it for two reasons. It's not worth it for me anyway, for two reasons. One, I don't earn as much money as I could do elsewhere, and two, it's just not a very nice way of earning a living, right? Stuck in traffic all day. It's a reasonably stressful experience compared to what I do most of the days. So I hope that came across in the videos enough for me not to have to do it again. I'm pleased I did it because I wanted to sort of focus my mind on just concentrating on London and seeing whether if I was focused on it, it would make any difference to my experience. And it didn't. It just confirmed what I sort of felt about it anyway, and what lots of other people have already said. So I will use that in my memory now, that day, to remind myself to try and avoid going to London. And if I forget the details, I'll remember the feeling I had that day, and I'll hopefully remember not to go back if I can help it. So what I did do, at the end of the last video, I did say I was going to go and pick up my London pickups from my regular shipper, which I then did do, and I successfully got them picked up from Wandsworth and from Harrow. I made my way across to High Wycombe, but I was obviously going to be very late for the depot. I wasn't going to get back in time, and my second pickup at Harrow was really difficult. It's about an hour of handballing, so I was really quite tired even halfway through doing that. But I got it done, got across, got some good sleep. Well, no, I got some sleep last night. Where I'm dropping off, there's very limited parking opportunities. It's all camera controlled and WL lines, and I don't feel confident about parking in those areas. But there's a couple of places which have got bays, and they're always free, and they're not camera controlled, and I always use them. But they are always, I'm always disturbed when I'm there about 3 o'clock in the morning from lorries going past. So I'd rather have the convenience of being able to park really close to the depot and having a really easy time in the morning and suffer the consequences of having not as good a sleep than try and do something else. So I got some rest, I got some sleep. Honestly, it wasn't great, but that was my own. I knew that was going to happen because of my own decision to park where I did. So no problems with that. And as a result of yesterday being quite a long day, and also as a result of me earning quite a decent amount of money so far this week, I wasn't going to rush getting unloaded this morning. So I didn't really get going until 8 o'clock-ish. I was awake for a while, but by the time I got everything ready, had some breakfast. I had some porridge this morning, and I got unloaded, and I was ready for jobs. And I'll tell you what I got for that job. So the two pickups in Wandsworth and Harrow and drop off in High Wycombe, I got £195 for that. And it's nothing to do with the mileage. The mileage is quite small, something like 50 miles, 40 miles. But it's about it being a London job, so I priced it on time and what I felt was worth me doing it in terms of the time and the effort. And I felt that 195, including the handballing, of course, don't forget that, so significant handballing, 195 was a fair price, and I'm happy that I got that, and I would charge that again. So that when I dropped that off this morning, that was the 195 in my spreadsheet, and then I was looking for other work, and my plan was to get home today. And really, because I was quite tired, I thought I'd just make my way home this morning and then have a bit of a rest at home, have half a day. So I was looking for jobs to take me north from did get one. It was going from Feltham, which is about half an hour's journey from where I was, about 20 miles, going up to Biggleswade, and I bid on that job £70. It was for a long wheelbase van, and the mileage on the CX system for that job, I'm just getting in front of me, is 59 miles. So I was happy that's taking me in the right direction at the right time of day from the right location, and the money for me was the right money. So it's kind of a perfect job, really. I've just tipped that job, and I'm now on my way, just dead miling it home. I am looking for jobs, but I'm an hour and 10 minutes away from home. There's no point really me getting work. I'm just going to go back. It's my mileage to get home from there is in the region of 60 miles, so I'm okay with that. And my plan is this: I'm going to get home. I'm going to have a bath. I love my baths. I'm going to have a bit of food, get some sandwiches prepared for the next couple of days, and then I want to try and find a job from my area, going a long distance, preferably picking up today and dropping off tomorrow morning, or even dropping off late tonight. And if I can get ideally one that takes me to dropping off, let's say for example Scotland would be ideal, from me to Scotland, dropping off tomorrow morning, I would love that. And I would price it so that I could get at least back as far as Glasgow and Edinburgh for tomorrow morning, or if I couldn't get back there, price it. So let's say, for example, I get a job that goes to Inverness and dropping off tomorrow morning. I know that I cannot get back to Glasgow or Edinburgh area before midday, and by that point all the jobs will have pretty much gone, I suspect. So I have to assume that I won't get any work from Inverness down to the northeast, sort of Carlisle, Newcastle way is where I tend to get work coming up. So I'll price it so that if I am going to do that, I've got enough money to get myself from where I am now home to Scotland and back down to that area. If I've got one that's drop off tonight, and let's say it's in Edinburgh, then I will price it just to get to Edinburgh, because I'm going to hope to get a job from Edinburgh in the morning. And if I don't, it's just one of those things. It's a risk, but it's one of those things. So when it comes to pricing for jobs going to Scotland, I am learning that there is a different way of pricing it. I have to work out, am I going to have to travel in the morning before I get to where the work is, or will I already be close to the work? And it's different to in England, really, because of the distances. So I'm learning that let's say from Edinburgh to Aberdeen, I'm thinking it's easily 3 hours. No matter how fast I try and go, it's 3 hours. And if you think about if I had to go from Edinburgh to Aberdeen and back to Edinburgh, that's 6 hours non-stop. So really, pretty much like 7 hours with delays and breaks. That's pretty much most of a day. So you can't really get out of Scotland if you do that. So I've been learning to learn that there is the difference with Scotland, for me at least, is knowing how far I can travel, let's say in the morning, before I can pick up work. I don't mind if there's no work anywhere in North Scotland or the Highlands, and I've missed the work in Edinburgh, as long as I've planned for that. As long as I've got the money on the job going up there. Anyway, I'm talking about stuff that's not really relevant today. So I am getting comfortable with the idea of going to Scotland at any particular point. The only thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go up on a Friday, because I think the chance to go back on a Saturday with the job is very remote. Unless, of course, I was going to stay up there for the weekend as a holiday, in which case I would take a job up on a Friday, absolutely. So yeah, like you say that you'd never do these things, but there's always exceptions. Right, let me get back to my plan. So my plan is to get myself somewhere away from home tonight, and try and do long distances for over Thursday, and then be in a place, probably Manchester or Leeds, Birmingham maybe area, ideally on Friday morning, and then just work my way back home on Friday with some small jobs. Now I don't actually need to do a lot of more work this week. I'll give you my stats for today. But actually, no. Let me give you stats for today first of all, because actually that might put a bit of context. Because I probably need to tell you a bit more before I go to the next bit about my decision making. So today's going to be a half day, at best a half day, and I'm happy. And I've done that. And the stats are going to be as such. I am going to have worked today 5 hours when I get home. I would have driven 153 miles, 153 miles, at 14.16 pence per mile. That's my fuel cost today of £21.66. Now today I've earned a gross amount from 2 jobs. One was CX job, one was a non-CX job, of £265. That's the 195 non-CX job from last night's pickups, and the £70 from today's CX job. That means today I've earned, after fuel, £243, which is really close to my target. But, and this is why I'm not worrying about doing a full day today. If I look at my last 3 days of income after fuel, I've made £1,064, which is equivalent to 4 days work for my target. So I could, in theory, just work one more day, get my target, and it's done. There's a variety of reasons why I'm not going to do that. And it comes back to my attitude to work, which I said about in the last a couple of videos ago. And I will explain a bit more about that within this context. So I'm in a position today where I'm a little bit tired. I'm close enough to home to 10 mile it back. I've run out of food that I'm carrying with me, so I want to get back and resupply the food. I want to have a bath, as I said. There's lots of reasons for my comfort about why I want to go home. I want to hug my partner. There's lots of reasons for that. And consciously, my conscious mind is saying, you need to go home now and do the things you want to do that are nice. And I am going to do that. That's the decision I've made. But even as I made that decision last night and this morning, and I'm doing it now, there's another part of my brain, deep down, my subconscious, that's anxious about the money. And it's saying, you've got to earn some more money, just a bit more money. And I recognise it exists. I don't know fully why it exists, but I know it's there. And so I just could not sit at home for the rest of the day without a plan for doing more work. So that's why I've created a plan. So by me having a plan now, which I've sort of detailed to you, that's putting my mind at rest, that I've catered for that aspect of my subconscious. I can now go home, relax, do the things I want to do that are comfortable and nice, knowing that that naggy thing in my brain about working is settled because I've got a plan. If I hadn't got a plan, I wouldn't be able to relax. I'd be thinking, what should I do? I can't do this, I can't stop working, I need to keep working. And I could, in theory, have tomorrow off. I could have today off and tomorrow off. And then work on Friday, because I've worked out that Fridays are probably pretty much the better days of the week to work. Also, I think this Friday is the last working day of the month. So I suspect it might be busier because of that. I don't know, but I might be. So I'm pretty confident on Friday I could get my target. But I would be so disappointed if I didn't work tomorrow and then on Friday it all went wrong and I didn't make my target after this start. So part of me is not going to do that because it's just I need to make my target, make it more guaranteed. Secondly, I do want to have a day off next week. So I've decided to have a day off in the week next week, and so for that reason I'm going to try and earn enough this week to cover that day. And at the moment I'm in a position where I can do that. So I'm going to give myself a day off to do no work next week, and if I have managed this week to earn an extra £250 after fuel, then I'm not going to worry about having a day off next week. And it's about, other people have said this, it's about making hay while the sun shines. So while the weather is good, while the work is there, while I'm fit and healthy, while my van's working and all the things are going okay, when I have a week that's going extra well, like this week, then I'm going to not stop, I'm going to carry on, because next week it could all fall apart. The other reason why I'm going to do this is explaining why I'm going to keep working this week. The other reason is I do need to, cash flow wise, get my cash flow working better. And if I do 5 days this week and 4 days next week, it's going to be better for me than doing 4 days this week and 5 days next week, because I may well get invoices that are given to me this week that are paid at the end of the next month. So because we're in the last week of July, I should get my invoices paid for this week's work at the end of August, so just over a month away. If I do work next week, it might be that work gets paid at the end of the following month, the end of September. So just for cash flow purposes, I'm going to keep working this week, and if I'm going to have time off next week. So there are 3 reasons, like 2 practical reasons and 1 subconscious psychological reason why I'm going to keep working. But I'm also going to take a bit of a break today, and that is important. I do realise that's important. I'm lucky I have the capacity to keep working non-stop in this particular job, at least if I need to, and I do know if I get too tired or too poorly not to do that. So I do know my limits, I do know when I should stop, and I am very self-reflective when it comes to my psychology. So if I am doing the wrong behaviours, I do think about why I'm doing the wrong behaviours. Like if I'm going to be working 6 days a week, I will question, why are you doing that? And I may still do it, but at least I'm questioning and I'm understanding why I'm doing it. And so I don't feel that I'm out of control with my work. In fact, the opposite. I feel I'm in control, and that's so nice. And because I'm in control, I will put the hours in. I'll put the days in. And in case it sounds to you like I'm being sanctimonious, I'm not making a moral judgment. I'm lucky that I can work and that I do work. I said this in my previous video. I feel fortunate. Well, I implied it, I suppose. I didn't say it. But I'm fortunate that I'm healthy enough to work, and then therefore, while I am healthy enough to work and have a great job, I'm going to do it, because I know one day I won't be able to. I was thinking about this the other day. I want to mention this point. I was thinking about how lucky I am at the moment. My life is really good. I could focus on the things that are bad about my life, and obviously I'm just a normal human. I have things that are wrong with my life, but I tend to, at the moment, think, no, focus on the positives. And I was thinking, when you're retired, you're going to look back to this week and you're going to think that was a high point of your life, never mind your working life. So while I'm in this week, this is the week I'm in now, I should make the most of it. I should cherish it and kind of absorb that. There are people, I think, that are listening to this channel who are retired, and I bet you're thinking, I bet some of you are thinking, I wish I could do that job again because I love my job. And there's some of you who are not working here because you're ill, or you can't work, or you're injured. And I bet you're thinking, oh, I wish I could do that job now because I loved it. And there are some of you who are doing a job which you hate, and you're going, I wish I could do another job because I hate this job. So for all those reasons, I don't have any of those things at the moment. I'm going to cherish this week. I'm earning good money. I'm out in the sunshine. I'm tweaking my health with my other videos and my weight and my exercise. I'm in control, and so I'm using this week as a way of just sort of trying to remember this is why I'm living. To some extent, is to feel like this, to feel like I'm feeling this week. I hope that makes sense. And that wasn't even what I was going to say, to be honest. So what's been on video wise? 10 minutes, I think. Was it 19? I can't see it. Phone's dodgy. Anyway, so I was going to talk about something else at this point. So before I go on, so I have a plan. I'm going to go home, rest, and try and crack the rest of this week, and hopefully get like a record week of earnings. The reason why I've had such a good week is I did the 3 routes that I was pre-booked for last week, all in the first 2 days. I picked up 2 of the routes on Monday, dropped them off on Tuesday morning, and picked up my 3rd route on Tuesday night, dropped off Wednesday morning, this morning. So because I've done that, and a few CX jobs in the middle, that's given me effectively 2.5 days, which I'm now finished of full money, and that's why the week's working out so well. Next week I might not get any work from my regular shipper, so I'll be back to just work on the CX. So that's why, another reason why this week might not be a common week. I mean, hopefully I'm going to look back on these videos and go, that was the start of my massively successful time as a same-day courier that week. But it might just be, oh, that was that one week when it really worked. Whichever way, I'm making the most of it. And the other thing I was going to quickly mention is, obviously, I'm thinking ahead to the winter, and I've done a job similar to this for 4 years, and the winter is a much harder time to do this sort of work. I haven't done same-day courier work in the winter, but I'm just cherishing the chance to do it with the light and the sun at the moment. Okay, so I'll next time I speak to you in a video about my work, it'll be tomorrow, and I will tell you what happens after the rest of the day and moving on. But I think I'll release this video earlier than usual just because I'm going to stop working. I want to just acknowledge at this point my subscribers. It has gone up a bit more, so I want to thank you for subscribing. I'm going to just double check what the current number is. I think it will be 102, but I do like to be accurate if I can be. At the time of recording, my subscriber numbers are currently 103. Excellent, thank you very much. It's 2 more than last time, I think. No, it was 1 more last time. It was 2 before. So thank you very much. What I wanted to spend some time talking about was, and again, I think this was going to be a bit of a ramble. This might end up being over half an hour video again, and it's one of those things that I think about a lot, and I want to try and explain about this aspect of my character, but I think it could quite easily become misled or misunderstood, and I'm aware that I'm telling people who don't know me, and I might not explain it very clearly. So I'll just ramble and hope that I get out the points that I want to make. I think that's generally how it works for me. And I think, to be fair, if you are still listening to this now, you'll know what to expect because you've probably seen other videos and you know what I do at the end of my videos now. So the reason why I'm explaining this next bit is I think it does show you more about me and how I perceive the world and how I think about the world, and it links into all the things I talk about in terms of same-day courier work as well. So let's get started. So I am a parent. My children are pretty grown up now, but I remember what it's like when they were younger. I have been a child. I remember what it's like growing up, and I have been a teacher, so I know how young people learn. And I think that, in my opinion, when you're very, very young, you have to learn about what we might call right and wrong, what's good and bad, those sort of things. And when you're young, when you're sort of 2, 3, 4, you can't really, as a parent, explain the nuances and grey aspects of life to that sort of age. You have to start off with just simple rules that they can follow, the children can follow. And I think we all experience this. We all experience being taught, in theory, hopefully we all experience this. And I think maybe I'm assuming that everyone has the same sort of upbringing that I've had, and obviously that's not the case, so I'll correct that. I wish that everyone had a kind of upbringing where you were taught the difference between right and wrong from a very early age, and I don't think we all do get that. But the vast majority of people in this country, at least, I don't mean that this country, take away this country a bit. The vast amount of people in the world get taught morality in a way that helps them live their life. But I think that so what you end up doing is you end up, when you're teaching young people and being taught as a young person, binary decision making. You're either good or you're bad. You're right or you're wrong. It's black or white. It's my way or the highway. You're with us or you're against us. Those sort of things. that make all choices that you have to make binary, one thing or another. There's nothing in between. And I think it's very useful to teach children safety issues. So teach children not to talk to strangers, because there's a higher risk if they talk to strangers. A child might not know that there's a risk that they might get abducted or get hurt. So therefore, as a parent, you teach, don't talk to strangers. It's just a simple rule. But actually, most people are nice and they will help you. They're not going to abduct you and hurt you. And you teach children not to put your hand in the fire, because it will hurt you. It will injure you severely. But you don't. You can carry hot stuff, but that's not a good example. But you shouldn't hurt people. You don't hurt people. You never hurt people, and that's what how you should teach children, to learn how to sort of treat people like they're able to do themselves. Now, as you get older, and in my opinion, life is not binary. It's full of grey and spectrum, and it's full of decisions you have to make that are based on weighted criteria, weighted risk assessment, weighted outcomes, whether it's going to be good or bad for you, and you don't know for sure, probabilities. And not everyone's good at doing that, and some people get stuck in this binary black or white way of looking at the world. And I think that the one example I would say is obeying the law. And I want to discuss obeying the law. And I would say that I am pretty much a law-abiding person, but I don't just follow all laws blindly because I'm told to. I think that would be a binary outlook. If there's a law that says you mustn't do something or you must do something, I'm going to make a decision for myself as an independent human being as to whether I agree with that law, and whether, if I don't agree with it, whether I'm prepared to break that law. And I think as independent, free-thinking people, adults, we all have the right to choose whether we break or keep the laws we're living under. So this is where I think it could get misconstrued. So in my opinion, and I've already told you about my personal values. So I live by my personal values that I've worked out what they are. So one of my personal values is not to hurt people, try not to hurt people. So I'm not going to agree with anyone hurting someone else. I don't need a law to tell me not to kill someone. I'm not going to do it because it's the wrong thing to do in my mind. And obviously, most people would agree that you shouldn't kill people. And the law is there as a kind of absolute, line. There's a line in the sand. If you kill someone, we're going to judge you for it. Now, even when it comes to killing, I think it's grey. So what happens if you are being attacked by someone and you fight back? You might not mean to, but you might kill someone. Now, in my world, I think that's fine. I wouldn't want to use excessive force. I wouldn't want to sort of go overboard. I wouldn't want to use it as an excuse to attack someone unprovoked. And obviously, there's a whole spectrum of people's opinions about what is unprovoked. And I've seen examples where that's been completely turned around to be completely misused. But I mean, that's an extreme example. At the moment, there's a conflict going on in Ukraine. There are people who are killing other people. I'm fortunate to not be in a war zone, but if I was in a war zone, I might be forced to kill somebody else. I wouldn't necessarily want to, but it might be my life or their life. So even something as extreme as killing someone, there is a law for it, and I agree with the law, but there are grey areas. Then you can apply that to anything, small, big or small. What's the smallest law I can think of at the moment? I don't know. Let's take career work. Let's take speeding. Okay, I don't speed, But I have been caught speeding in the past. I have had points on my licence for speeding. I have done a speed awareness course. So I can't say I've never sped, I've never broken the law. I would say that when it comes to speeding, when I was younger, I probably didn't think about it much. I just travelled at a speed that I thought that I was happy with. I was never a boy racer. I don't put it that way. I always, would kind of go at the speed limit, but on the motorway I might go at 75 or 80 and not think anything of it. Or if it's quiet at night, I might go at 35 or 40 or 30, not think anything of it. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. And over time I got points, and I went on a speed awareness course, and now my approach to speed is, well, I'm just going to go 5 miles below the speed limit, 10 miles below the speed limit. It doesn't make any difference to me. It makes me feel a lot less stressed when I'm travelling at that speed. As long as I'm not rushing to get somewhere by a certain time, as I give myself enough time, I don't need to break the law. So I absolutely agree that the speeding law, as it stands, is correct, and I would obey it. But even there's grey areas. What if I am on the motorway and I want to go 80? So I've said to you I don't do that, and for a start my van is limited to 70 miles an hour. If I go 80 on the motorway and it's empty, let's say, there's no one else around, what harm am I actually doing? And in my view, as a free-thinking, independent adult, if I chose to do that, I think that's fine. I don't think it's fine by the law. It's fine by my own morality, because I'm making a risk-based decision on what I would do. And the point is, if I get caught, I have to accept the consequences. I have broken the law, I've been caught, I have to pay the fine, I have to take the points, and I have to accept responsibility for my own actions. So in that case, that's an example where if you break the law and you get caught, in my mind, you're bang to rights. Just accept the punishment and then move on. Either change your behaviour, or if you're going to keep doing that behaviour, accept that you might get caught again. And I think it comes down to the thing I want to mention about breaking laws is something about the human psychology. I think that our willingness to break a law is down to a couple of things. One, whether we agree with the law or not, in terms of our own outlook on the world. But two, separate from that, the chance that we feel we'll get caught if we break that law. And so if you are somebody who fears that you'll get caught for doing something, and you agree with the law and you're happy to work within it, you're going to obey that law all the time. And if you're someone who doesn't agree with that law in principle and doesn't think you're going to get caught, I can see why you would just break the law whenever you feel like it. And I'm not, at this point, and I hope it's clear, I'm not saying it is right or wrong to break the law. I think it's an individual. What you do is up to you. I know what I am prepared to do and what I'm prepared not to do. But I just think that life is not just about always following what you're told. And so I want to move on a bit. So, because if you live for long enough, the laws will change in the society you live in. They do. Laws get brought in, more and more laws over time. They tend, in my experience, to get more and more restrictive rather than less restrictive. And they're usually brought in under the idea of making people safer, or making activities safer, or maybe making things better in some way, however that society defines as better. And it doesn't mean that everyone will experience life getting better by obeying that rule. So the rules, for example, with couriering are, the main ones I'm aware of are about your speed, your load limits your time that you can work for. Obviously your vehicle has to have an MOT. There are laws of the road that you work on in terms of your driving standards. You have to have a driving licence, you have to have insurance. There are lots and lots of regulations and laws that you have to follow to do this job. And there will be more and more of those that come in over the years. And what will happen, in my mind, is you as a driver either have to accept those laws that come in and amend your practice, or another option is you don't amend your practice, you carry on doing what you do at the moment, but when you get caught, accept that you've got to pay the penalty, whatever the penalty is, or you get so frustrated that you stop doing the job completely, you do something else or you retire from the job. And I think that if you listen to this video, you will probably fall into one of those camps when it comes to, if you've been working for like 20, 30 years, you'll probably know what I'm talking about, and you've chosen one of those options to adapt, to stay as you are, or to get out. If you've been working for 5 or 10 years, maybe, or let's say 1 to 5 years maybe you haven't experienced that amount of change yet. Maybe you're thinking, well, I'll always obey the law because it's, I'm that sort of person. And I'm sort of saying life is a bit more complex than that. And the other thing, therefore, I'm thinking is, because the government over time, whatever government is, it's not a political point at all, it's about whatever the government at a time does with this industry, it will always be more restrictive, it will always have more regulations, more laws. And technology changes as well, so when technology changes, you have to bring more regulations for technology. So it's not just, people aren't just changing the laws for the sake of it, they're changing it because the way we live changes, what we use changes, the way we drive, the technology we use changes. So there has to be that ongoing change of laws to keep up with changing technology. And because in the last 50 years technology has got better faster, laws have got to change faster than they used to change. And so my logical thinking is, you need new drivers, new people to come into this industry that are fresh to the industry, that will take on board the new regulations and run with it. Because if you only had everyone who was the older stock, as it were, the older drivers, they will eventually retire off and you'll have not enough drivers. So there's always going to be that flux of new people coming in, old people going out. That you need in any industry to have those people coming in with new perspectives and new ways of working. It means that as an industry you keep up to date. As an individual, you might struggle with that competition or the changes. But as an industry, if you really care about the industry as a whole, and maybe you don't, I don't know, but that industry will die without new people coming in, without technological change, without efficiencies. So the change that happens, although it's hard to deal with, I think you have to cope with it if you want to stay within the industry. Now, I'm wondering if with the tightening regulations that are coming on board, and with how it is hard, apparently it's harder now to make money than it used to be, whether there may become a shortage of same-day courier drivers. I'm not going to make any predictions. I don't know enough about the industry or about life generally to do that. But I'm just asking, it's a rhetorical question really, because I don't think anyone will know. But my other thought is, I feel that we might be in a bit of a recession at the moment, and it might last for a while. But if it's like this now, with this number of drivers and this amount of work, when these older drivers do retire or do decide to stop because of the changing regulations, and I think that will happen. I think the regulations do get stricter and people will, for a result of that, stop doing the job. And when we recover from recession at some point, it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years time, over the medium term, is there going to be the drivers there to cater for that on-demand same-day service? It's a really interesting problem, I think, because the aspect of logistics I'm involved in you can't really plan ahead. I don't have a contract, so tomorrow I don't know what I'm doing. So I get the work on the day, or maybe even the day before if I'm lucky. So it's a really responsive, flexible industry. But if you're going to have a big change in demand, either a big decline in number of jobs or a big increase in number of jobs, I'm not sure how, as a logistics industry, we could cope with that. And I think maybe the pricing structure would change at that point. I don't know. It's a rhetorical question. I think people think the price structure is low at the moment. I get what I think is a fair wage, and that's why I detail what I earn, both on and off the CX. I could talk for hours about this sort of thing. I'll leave it for another video. So another video I'll talk about CX and the pricing and stuff and what I think of that. So let me try to focus back on the law bit. So I've got a bit off topic. I wanted kind of you to understand that how I see the law. Oh yeah, the thing I was going to say was I feel privileged and lucky to be in a country that's had freedom of the press and free courts and a democracy. It's not perfect by any means, but we are so privileged because the laws that are made we may moan about, but they're not going to restrict our liberties. Think about living in a country like Russia at the moment. They have laws they have to follow that restrict their ability to earn money or to travel or to live a life that's free to make decision making. So we must remember that if you were in a country where your law was like that, would you obey those laws? Would you obey a law that meant you said you can't travel to another country? Well, in my mind, if I could get away with it, I'd break it because I think it's unfair. But if you are living in this country and you say, I always obey all laws, well, maybe you do in this country, but would you do that in all countries where the laws are different and they're not fair and they're against your rights? So I think the idea of breaking a law is it's a spectrum again, it's a grey area. There are reasons why it's right to break a law. And my final point on this is our right to protest. Okay, so I'll pick up... I'll mention this after my quick caveat. I'm not here to express political views and also, along to that, religious views. In my mind, politics and religion are aspects of life which have no definitive answer. But unfortunately, there are people in this world who think they have got the definitive answer and they also want you to agree with them. I'm not going to stray into politics and religion in my channel. You can believe and think whatever you want, and I will believe and think whatever I want. I don't need to be persuaded otherwise, and I wouldn't try to do that with you. So this isn't a political point I'm going to make, but it's just relates to all the things I'm saying about my videos. It's the right to protest. I think we all have the right to protest. And I think it's correct that there are some restrictions to that. I don't think you should hurt people in a protest, physically hurt people, harm them. But other than that, pretty much anything goes. And there are laws in this country that are making protests more and more hard to do. And I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but that's a side issue. I think that if you have a law you don't agree with, you could just break it and not get caught. That's one option. But another option is you could obey the law but protest about it. Say, I don't agree with this law, and make a protest. So we are lucky in this country to have the option to have protesting. And as one example, and I'm not saying this because it does affect our industry sometimes, and it has, affects everyone's life, but it's our industry. So if you get the Just Stop Oil protests, which can stop traffic moving, I can see from my perspective, I would hate that. I would despise being stuck in a traffic jam because someone was protesting about anything. It doesn't have to be about the environment. Because in that moment I'll be trying to get to my job to earn my money for my family and myself. And I don't agree with protests that would stop me doing my work. But, there's a big but here, you have the right to do that. And I would support your right to do that if you felt that's the way to get your process across. I do not agree with the Just Stop Oil protesters. They seem to be very committed. They seem to be have a certain way of doing the work. They have a point to make. And from the ones I've seen on video, they seem to be quite young. I don't agree with them, but I tell you what, I'm not going to swear here, but I really admire them. I really admire anyone that has the guts to protest for something they believe in. I don't have to believe in that thing to admire them. I don't have to agree with that thing to admire them. I don't have to agree to support their right to do it. I could get really annoyed at being stuck in a traffic jam, but still support their right to do it. I think that might explain a bit about my character. All of what I've just said is trying to give you a bit more idea about how I perceive the world and what I think about the world. And as always, I should make this my catchphrase. My catchphrase shouldn't be, what have you done today? It should be, in my opinion. As always, I don't mind if you agree or disagree. If you want to disagree, tell me why. If you want to agree, I'm happy to hear it. But this is my opinion expressed on this platform. Okay. Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. What have you learnt today?